Assalamualaikum, hello and very good morning. Assalamualaikum, hello and very good morning, good afternoon to everyone. Before we officially begin our event, I would like to start off with a short briefing on some housekeeping and friendly reminders to all our guests today. I believe many of us are familiar with the Zoom virtual room environment, but nevertheless, I'll still give a simple briefing that may benefit those who are new with Zoom. First, make sure your mic is muted. You can see the microphone icon on the button at the bottom left of your screen, and that's where you can control your microphone setting. I would also like to ask everyone to turn on your video during the group photo session that will be held later. Just click the start video button on the left bottom of your screen. Next, you can click a speaker view on the button at the top right corner to focus on the current debater who is speaking. Regarding the Q&A session, and this may concern our debaters, if you have any questions that you would like to ask, you probably message the co-host using the chat board that you should be able to see on your screen. The debaters must rename their names according to their university codes given before the debate session starts. Alright everyone, let's watch a multimedia presentation of the platinum sponsor before we proceed to the main agenda. Alright, here's the main agenda. So believe that the event today will run smoothly and as planned. So the admission is at 1:45. 2 p.m. will be welcoming remarks by MC, and then 2:05 p.m. will be multimedia and video presentation from sponsor, and then the introduction of panel judges participation at 2:15. 2:20 will be officially begin MyMalaysia Career E-Fair debate with first affirmation debater, and then we will end until 2:45 for the third opposition debater Muhammad Helmi Muhammad Yazid, and then 2:50 p.m. we have the conclusion until 2:55 p.m. for the last opposition debater, Anis Sofia. For 3 p.m. we have a break, and 3:05 p.m. judges' comments, and also 3:15 we have a photo session, and 3:20 closing remarks by MC, and 3:25 the program ends. Alright, that is for the housekeeping. On behalf of the joint organizers uLearnMoney and Max Capital Management, supported by the Malaysia Malaysia Literacy in Financial Education Association My Life, with media partners Money Compass and Chulik Wang, I would like to wish a warm welcome to our honorable guests, media friends, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the MyMalaysia Virtual Debate Competition Session 2 with the topic One Should Choose a Job He or She Loves over One That Pays Well. My name is Nadra, and I will be your MC for today. For those who are joining us on our Facebook Live and also our SME eFair platform, hello and thank you so much for joining us. I would like to give a special acknowledgement to Kenanga Investors Berhad, the platinum sponsor for one of our My Malaysia Career eFair debate competition. Alright everyone, let's watch a multimedia presentation of the platinum sponsor before we proceed to the main agenda. Alright everyone, I hope you have enjoyed the video presentation. Before I begin our debate competition today, I would like to brief on allocation of time and speaking order of the debaters. Debate begins with the affirmative team, the team that supports the topic, presenting their arguments, followed by a member of the opposing team. This pattern is repeated for the second and third speaker in each team. Finally, each team gets an opportunity to conclude their arguments. Speakers should speak slowly and clearly. The judges and members of the audience should be taking notes as the debate is in progress. All participants will get a total of time 5 minutes for their turn. There cannot be any interruptions. Speakers must wait for their turn. After 4 minutes, the MC will give a reminder to the debater, and after that, the MC will remind again for the final remaining 1 minute to the debater for him or her to finalize his or her argument. Any participants exceeding this time limit of 5 minutes will get negative marks. This debate tournament is conducted entirely online on our online platform Zoom. A computer with a working microphone and a webcam is required. It should be tested in advance by the participant. Participants must have reliable internet connection. All debaters should be visible on camera at all times during preparation time. Current speakers should be visible and clearly identified on camera while speaking. Microphones should be muted while each debater is speaking to minimize noise interruptions. The dress code is formal, wearing a dark or black color blazer. The male participant must wear a dark colored tie. Now I would like to introduce the six panel judges of MyMalaysia Virtual Debate Competition. The first chief panel of judges will be Miss Amy Seok. Second judge is Mr. Lucas Wong. Third judge is Miss Constance Westwood. Fourth judge is Mr. Steve Teo. The fifth judge is Miss Jesling. And finally, our sixth judge is Dr. Chris C. Now, I would like to introduce our debaters from Universiti Tenaga Nasional UNiTEN, who will be the affirmation team, and International Islamic University Malaysia IIUM, who will be the opposition team during the debate competition. The affirmation debaters from UNiTEN are Muhammad Shafiq bin Jamaluddin, Ammar bin Zuhair, and Nurul Intan Shima Elina binti Junain. Meanwhile, the opposition debaters from IIUM are Anis Sofia Ismail, Nurhana Izzati Abdullah Zawawi, and Muhammad Helmi Muhammad Yazid. Moving on to the next agenda, now we would officially begin My Malaysia Carry Ife debate with first affirmation debater Muhammad Shafiq to present his arguments supporting today's debate topic. You may start now.
Good afternoon to my judges and to all of the audience. My name is Muhammad Shafiq and I'll be affirmation team. Now, on the motions that states one should choose a job that he or she loves over one that pays well. Now, before moving any further, I would like to talk about first of all, I would like to talk about the definition from the motion itself. And the second thing, I would like to give out my arguments. Now, onto the definition from the motion itself. The first thing is about job. Now, what is job? Job is just a regular work that a person does to earn money for by the end of the month that they receive the salary or an hourly wages, for instance. And this money that it keeps the food on the table. And the minimum salary, and it was conducted a research by the wonderful Malaysia that the minimum salary specifically in Kuala Lumpur states that the minimum salary for those who are not married is around 2,500 ringgit Malaysia, while for the married couple is 5,000 ringgit Malaysia above, depends on how many children they have. Now, on the second definition, it's about passion. Now, passion is an intense enthusiasm and excitement for what you do in your daily life, such as you have passion in your art, passion in starting your business or doing a startup business or whatsoever. And it can be a differentiate between doing it and getting job done well. And the third thing I want to define is the good paying jobs. Now, good paying jobs is that these people, they receive a lot of money and they receive a high salary above than the average that I stated. Now, the good paying jobs is basically if you get a job from a big company such as a Petronas, TNB, and whatsoever. Now, before I move on to my arguments, I just want to point out that we are basically focusing on the people such as a student and fresh graduate itself. We are not focusing on people who have experience in more work and whatsoever. Now, my first argument will be why working for high-paying jobs. Now, high-paying job is a big and a hard it's a big competition in the job market itself. And what does this mean is that even if they have a high payment jobs is available, but it is not enough for all the people who have the same or about the qualification that they have. They have to fight for it to get the high paying jobs. And even if that you get the high paying jobs, means that you can basically be replaceable by someone else or by an AI, for instance. And the boss from the company has also leverage over you, and they can take control over you. And if you're working on a high paying jobs, means that you have to work on days off, you have to work extra hours doing overtime. And some of the companies that you might lose certain work benefits, such as, for instance, you might lose an insurance whatsoever. And some of these jobs that you work are not in your job scope area, meaning that you have to do other things that are not specific to your area only. And even in this COVID-19, the high employment rate is still in a long run. For instance, like there's a lot of people losing their job during this COVID-19. Now, on a research conducted by the Department of Statistics of Malaysia in 2020 alone, 700,000 people are jobless because of this COVID-19. And while these people getting a job that is a good salary for them, and it's a high payment, and yes, it is good, but basically what they have to face is that they are mentally, physically exhausted, and they don't even get a proper care for themselves, which is a self-care and a mental health is very important to this person. And for short-term oriented by this company, that they must hit a certain KPI for every month. So if they don't reach this KPI for every month that they targeted, means that these people might lose a job, and the risking of losing a job is high. And when you're working for a company, basically that your work is being less personalized to your own purpose, and you start to feel like a cog in a machine. And over the time and over the years, you started to feel less fulfillment. And this company rakes in more profit from your contribution. And even if that you get a higher salary and get promoted, and then that's just it. And overall, after that, you have to work all over under pressure again. Now, in comparison, when you're doing a passion for your job, means that even if in this COVID times, that you can do more in advance in technology and so whatsoever. And comparative doing a job in a high paying, you might still lose a job because of the COVID-19. And with that, proud to propose. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Shafiq, for the supporting argument. Now, I would like to call upon our first opposition debater, Anis Sophia Ismail, to present her arguments opposing the topic. So, Anis Sophia, you may start now.
Hi. Oh, all right. Hello. Can I check that everyone can hear me? Yeah. It's tempting to see the world from affirmation's perspective and choose your interests first, but you can only follow your dreams so far before you realize that your happiness cannot pay your bills. As affirmations themselves said, assuming that this is a person who is just starting on their career and has the opportunity to choose, we on opposition side believe that they should make the most strategic choice and one that will have a good payoff in the long run. But before I go on further into my response and arguments, let's go through a few clarifications. Firstly, where does this debate happen? On opposition, we believe that the debate is far bigger than the affirmation has set up. There are a few realms that exist in life, which is work, relationship, passion, and etc. The job that we are looking at does not exist in a Venn diagram whereby the job is both something that you love and something that pays well, which means that there is a direct choice that needs to be made. So the question now becomes whether or not people should take up the less preferable career path to fulfill their passion when they have the choice to get a better pay. So what exactly does the world look like? The reality is the way in which the economy functions is that one must have the capacity to gain resources and access in order to escalate the ladder, the economic ladder. Therefore, the metric in which we need to see this debate is not about which choice would give you the most amount of money or happiness, but rather the choice must be measured with satisfaction. And in order for a person to be satisfied, they need two things. The first is that they need to have a life purpose. And the second is that they need to have the resources or money to be able to work towards that purpose, be it a passion or just something that they have a goal, a long-term goal. And they have to have the ability to fulfill their desires. We need to see that you must maintain the sanctity of the things that you love before you have to make a trade-off that will make you begin associating your job with your passion. So let's talk about what exactly do passion-based jobs usually look like. Because sometimes the choice might not be too far apart, but most times there is a stark difference between the pay and the experience that you receive. What are the differences? Firstly, passion-based jobs are mostly unconventional careers that do not pay as much. This looks like advocacy through NGOs or graphic designing, or even being an author, for example. But secondly, they don't have a solid structure in comparison to better paying jobs. This looks like when there is an economic instability. Firstly, when demands are low, your workforce or your occupation becomes very fragile. The second thing is that you also often work in a small team, meaning to say that the harms that affirmation brought up earlier, like doing things that you might not be accustomed to or taking up more of your workload than you have to, is also something that is going to happen under your will. But thirdly, you don't get any sort of benefits in terms of health or security. Instability is a real issue, especially given COVID-19, because we can see, according to Bloomberg, the article says that 46.6% of self-employed or freelancing workers in Malaysia lost their livelihood due to instability. So if this passion leads to you losing out in your life, we don't think that that is a good choice to make. This means that the choice of career is going to affect the individual in three manners. Firstly, the individual's personal satisfaction. Secondly, the family dependent on them. And thirdly, the long-term sustainability of the individual's future. In my argument, I will explain on the first two considerations. Firstly, how does your career choice affect important facets of your life? What are the things that you must consider? It's not just your happiness, but let's talk about that first, right? In regards to individual fulfillment, in response to government's case, even if it's true that it's going to be difficult for you to sustain your career in terms of when you work in a job that pays well, we think that at the end of the day, it's important to face those difficulties because the individual must still consider whether or not they are able to pay for their livelihood, especially if a lower paycheck means that they are going to live in less preferred conditions that would in fact make them someone who is very unfulfilled and someone who is very unhappy. According to real life scenarios especially, most individuals who take up a job that they believe they would love eventually withdraw from such scenarios. And I think it's wrong to assume that just because you work in a job that you love automatically means that you're going to be happy for the rest of your employment period. On a comparative, you are still able to enjoy your interests separate from your career if you choose a job that pays well. In fact, you're able to utilize the money from your well-paying job, which gives you the freedom to pursue the interest that makes you happy. And then the question becomes whether your self-fulfillment is more important than the responsibilities that you have to discharge, which leads me towards the second factor, which is responsibility towards dependence. Because like they themselves said, there are a lot of people who are dependent on an individual who is working. And on average, according to Statista in 2019, there would be at least 4 persons per household which is dependent on a breadwinner. This means that everyone has someone who depends on them at every stage of life, be it for a bachelor, your parents and family members, or even after marriage, your children and partner. Meaning to say that even if you are unhappy with your job, it's still an important trade-off because failure in fulfilling your duty to others is a larger wrong than failure in assuring your happiness in the long term. So in the end, the reality is that you have to consider what job guarantees you a better future for not only yourself, but also for the ones who depend on you. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Anis, for the opposing argument. Now I would like to call upon our second affirmation debater, Ammar bin Zuhair, to present further arguments in support of the topic. So you may start now, Ammar.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay, nice. So I'll be starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. A very good afternoon. As we debate this topic that is obviously a very one-sided topic because of the fact that passion for one is able to influence people in a way to work much harder than they usually do, it's important to remember a number of factors. So before I start my speech, I'm going to introduce how I'm going to structure my speech exactly. First thing first is I will provide a number of rebuttals to the case brought up by opposition, including an argument which will be used as a preamp. Then I will introduce an argument talking about the nature of choosing a good paying job in the first place. Now, first of all, Why is it that it's significantly easier to create a sustainable living from pursuing your passion rather than something like a high-paying job? Because for one, there are some very heavy prerequisites to pursuing a good-paying job, namely a degree, which is very expensive. Now, here's a couple of things to consider. Even if you have absolutely zero background in a particular thing that you are passionate about, you are still able to pursue it because you can pick up the skills from a multitude of sources, namely things like YouTube or Skillshare. You can have specific courses that are a significantly lower fee. You will have to pay a lot less to be able to do what you love. Now, on the topic of sustainability, why is that a good point in comparative to what opposition provides? Because while opposition is correct in saying that, yes, you need to be able to support your family and whoever are close to you, you should not do that by sacrificing literally everything else. As an example, in a research conducted by University of Cambridge in 2017 showed that more than 60% of people spent more than 15 years of their working life just paying off their education fees. I don't see which part of that is living or which part of them is, pursuing your passion as hobbies. So in that note, I think opposition's point is almost entirely wrong. Now, to go further than that, being able to contribute to whatever greater purpose that you believe you are pursuing is something that is very important because it is the very basis of things like SMEs, where people traditionally go into businesses. And that is very important because in a situation like COVID-19, businesses need to be able to innovate. And innovation can only happen through passion for a number of reasons. By pursuing your passion, things become a lot more accessible and a lot more mobile because of the fact that, number one, you can pick up your skills for anywhere. But even if you were to say that, look, you know what, in COVID, it's going to become very difficult because small businesses are going to collapse. Let me explain, leading to my next argument, why it is very difficult to get a good paying job in the first place. And that is in regards to the nature of choosing a job. Now, to support this argument, I'm going to present 3 levels of analysis. First of all, is the selection process is flawed in the first place. Now, according to a review of recruitment and selection process done in June of 2020, people believe for there to be some sort of secret to having a good resume and end up going to some useless workshops or classes that end up wasting time and money. Because for one, managers will go through resumes very shortly and then dismiss the moment there is a single oddity because there are so many applicants for these good jobs, right? Which means that only a very exclusive group gets selected, which makes an already competitive industry even more competitive. Secondly, is the culture of job switching. Now, according to a research done in Belgium in 2016, good pay means you are significantly less likely to get any form of promotions or raises, which means eventually as your family grows, you will struggle more and more to sustain yourself. In contrast, when you're pursuing your passion, and yes, passions can change, you can eventually direct what you're working to be able to sustain your family or whoever you are working or staying with. Now, everything I've said means that fresh graduates in particular end up competing with people who have prior experience in the workplace, which is obviously going to be more attractive to any hiring team. And that means a new group of people is significantly less likely to be employed, making it even more competitive than it already is. My third point is that you cannot interview for psychological values. While yes, companies want some form of concrete qualifications like education or your grades or so on and so forth, companies also want other things like independence, critical thinking skills like ethics, teamwork, communication. But the problem is that there is no index to determine whether someone is good at these skills or bad at these skills. It's very subjective based on the interviewer themselves, which makes hiring significantly harder because any oddity within the interview is singled out and emphasized on creating an imbalance. This is all stated in a study made in August of 2019. Now, onto a number of rebuttals I want to make onto opposition's case as a whole. I think one very important thing to remember is that the cost to get the prerequisites to have a proper good paying job is already very expensive, which I think negates the points of, you should focus on your family and so on and so forth. And you can pursue your passion on the side because you won't have the financial capability to do so if you are doing this. In contrast, when you're pursuing your passion, you have that capability because for one, you've spent very little to try and get to where you are. And admittedly, it will take time to create a sustainable outcome, but you will already have excess money that you can use to pursue that passion further. And then you will be able to, yes, create a much more sustainable income for yourself and your family. It's also very important to remember that, yes, while it is true that there is no solid structure within any form of passion that you are following, there is a measure that it can be carried out to, which is the sustainability of the people close to you, similar to the KPI in a corporation. So in conclusion, I believe 2 very important things to remember. Number one, pursuing your passion creates, number one, personal drive that is very important to create a strong working environment. And with that said, I'm very proud to propose.
All right, thank you very much, Ammar, for the supporting argument. So now it is time to call our second opposition debater, Norhana Izzati Abdullah Zawawi, to present further arguments against the topic. So you may start now, Norhana.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yes.
Honorable judges, the fact of the matter is that the economy is built in a way in which fiscal and financial freedom is what gives you access to a lot of things. Side government has to acknowledge that you have to trade off better healthcare, better education, good education for your children in order for you to pursue your passion. I'm going to clarify one very simple thing that has to exist in this debate. This debate has to assume that you are given both of these options. That means either you can pursue what your passions are, but trade off high-paying job, like a high pay, as opposed to what we defend, in which you will get the job and you will get a high income, but not be able to pursue what you're passionate about. If side government is going to come up here and say that, oh, in fact, you actually won't get that job and you won't actually succeed. Well, in that case, we can say that you will enter your passionate job and actually, oh, suddenly you don't like it. So that's the only way this debate can be fair. So you must assume to some degree that we will be able to enter their job. But technicalities aside, I'm going to first argue why exactly these jobs are in fact accessible for a lot of people. The first is that these high-paying jobs, the first is that there are so many expansions of industries. The government supports expansion of industries. Most companies always strive to get larger amounts of employees, which essentially means that there's always going to be a strive towards increasing employment opportunities, right? Secondly, a lot of these things, as they might say that CVs is hard and they might evaluate you differently, these things are all learnable traits. Critical thinking, getting a degree are all learnable traits, and people oftentimes already tell you what you need in order for you to get these jobs. As opposed to a passionate job or a job that you're independently pursuing, it's up to subjectivity. If you strive to become an author, if you strive to enter design, all of this is dependent on the market wanting you. And because it's such a specific passion, you might not get the response that people want, and the probabilities of failure are far higher. Second question, which job is more stable? Because the first speaker argued that it's not going to be stable and you are expendable to most corporations. Well, on a comparative basis, it's far more stable for you to have a high-paying job as opposed to doing a passionate job. Why is this so? 46% of people who lost their jobs during COVID are self-employed. And presumably, when you go towards something that you're passionate about, you will have to be self-employed. You will have to start your own business. You will have to try and be independent. So the probabilities of you losing your job because you cannot sustain this independent business is far higher than being under a corporation. But if they say, oh, you're expendable, but there are so many things that they already prepared for you to say that even if you lose your job, you are prepared to survive. Like, for example, severance packages, KWSP, KWAP, right? EPF, all of these things are structures that the formal economy gets you in order for you to survive, even if you are considered as expendable. We think it's a far stable option, especially when the duty of care towards other people and yourself is very important. But the last thing I'm going to talk about is which one dictates or which one can maintain a better mental health, because they say that it's going to stress you out when you pursue a career, a high-paying career. Well, obviously, stability and financial stability is the gateway to stable mental health. Sure, you will not be able to spend your days doing things that you're passionate about, but you still have your weekends, you still have your afternoons and your nights to do whatever you are passionate about or enjoy for short periods of time. But in terms of financial stress, at least you are not going to be bound by financial stress. So that's the Gov case gone. I'm going to talk about the first argumentation, also extending from my first speaker, the importance of duty of care. Note that the average Malaysian has at least 4 dependents, and these dependents essentially need you because A, they are oftentimes vulnerable. The elderly, such as your parents or your children who have no ability to have financial control, all of these people have their whole life ahead of them, and you are the single thing that can grant them a good life or a bad life. Therefore, you have a duty to take care of them and to ensure financial stability for the people around you. That's why you should go for a high-paying job. The context of the matter is that a high-paying job, A, allows you ability for you to give them better sense of education. Secondly, allows you to actually give them healthcare and access to a lot of necessities to ensure some level of survivability. But more importantly, let them break out of the poverty cycle if you are in that cycle, because then only is when you are able to decrease some level of poverty inside Malaysia, when you're able to break through that. They never told us why this duty of care was not important, and they never told us the benefit of satisfaction or happiness and pursuing what you are passionate about. At the end of the day, if you do something you love repeatedly every day and you have an obligation, you lose the novelty of your passion. And at the end of the day, under their side, they have never guaranteed that they will get what they wanted to get in the first place.
All right, thank you, Nurhana, for the opposing argument. All right, now I would like to call upon our third affirmation debater, Nurul Intan Shima Irina binti Junain, to begin with the rebuttal, attempting to defend the opposing arguments and to defeat the supporting arguments. So you may start now.
Before I begin, am I audible? Can
Yeah.
you hear me? All right, I'll begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Okay, there's an old saying that says passion and perseverance are the key to success. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Narintan, and I am the whip for the affirmation team. So my job is to reinforce my prime minister and also deputy prime minister, at the same time rebut some of the points that has been brought up by the opposing team. So my prime minister and deputy prime minister have already stated so many times that a high-paying job is just not ideal for an individual. And I will be listing out some of the points stating why this is so. Number one, how much of your time or how much of people are actually working in a high-paying job just to pay off their loans? So our argument is that it's much more expensive to pay off things. If you're going to talk about living comfortably and living that fulfilling life or living that successful life, if 15 years of your working time is paid off, is used to pay off loans, then I would not consider that a very successful life or even a very fulfilling one. When your drive is just to pay off something that shouldn't happen in the first place. Second point, it is while there is which has been brought by my deputy, the culture of job switching exists a lot in our generation, especially because it is very hard to get promotions in a high-paying job. What are the odds of someone in a corporation climbing that corporate ladder to get to the very top? Chances are you're going to be very stagnant. You're going to be very stagnant before you actually move up somewhere in the corporation. And the third point is that it is very competitive. It is very competitive environment. Granted that both sides do have competition, but the thing is, you are competing with other people, not only to keep the job, but to also get promotions in the job. You're expendable, and even down the line, you might even be replaced by some younger, much more active youth or individual. So with all that stated, our alternative is to actually work towards what you love to do. And contrary to what opposition says, the way to work towards your passion is not unconventional. It has been done time and time again, and this has been usually start by doing small businesses, by starting small. And when people majority of the people who do passion for a living actually start small, and they can even provide for their family by doing odd jobs at the same time, at the same time increasing their skill in their free time. So and my point rebutting to the opposition team, saying that it's more stable to be in a high-paying job, you're forgetting one important thing. When you're working for a company, they're actually driven towards capitalism, which means the moment you slip up, you're going to be expendable and replaced by someone who's going to be given more profit, even more so during a pandemic like COVID-19. But on the note of COVID-19, working towards your passion actually demands for creativity. Unlike working under a company with a high-paying job, it demands for creativity, and usually creativity would gain traction, and not only would you have passion in what you're doing, but you're actually reaching out to people who actually admire your work, and also connect with people who admire your work on a deeper level, hence giving you more drive and more purpose towards reaching your goal. And the one final thing is that people who do passion for a living are actually making a name for yourself. Now, with all that's said and done, in conclusion, I ask one question for you to consider. Is it really worth working towards a high-paying job if it means you can work towards a passion that gives you more drive? And even if it doesn't work out, even if it doesn't work out, it's much better for in our world, because you're always considering your self-worth and you're always making that evaluation of what works for you and what not doesn't. So with that, I rest my case. I am proud to propose. Thank you.
All right, thank you for the strong supporting argument, Nurul Intan. So moving on, now I would like to call the third opposition debater, Muhammad Helmi Muhammad Yazid, to begin with the rebuttal, attempting to defend the opposing arguments and to defeat the supporting arguments. You may start now.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. As the whip, I'm going to look at three questions in this debate. So the first is whether or not the barrier of entry on the comparative world where you do pursue passions is more, easier barrier of entry. Number two, I'm going to look at the benefits to the self. And the third question is I'm going to look at the duty to others and tell you why, even if you are slightly miserable, we say that there's a larger duty that you ought to consider, and that larger duty supersedes any priority of personal happiness on the comparative. So the first, when you are looking at the question of barrier of entry, the entire first two speakers from the affirmative bench talked about passion projects, pursuing your passion in the form of passion projects, things like, for example, graphic design, things like, for example, advocacy, NGOs. However, suddenly, like the third speaker then talked or shifted the case towards things like, for example, entering to SMEs. Let's assume this is the comparative of pursuing your own business versus actually working with an established business. So the first question is with regards to barrier of entry. In order for you to start up your own business, the barrier of entry is way higher. Oftentimes, individuals who have the capacity to start up their own business have been pre-existingly privileged, oftentimes because their parents have already had money in order for them to give personal loans. In addition, if you want to take a loan from a bank, you need credit ratings that are not necessarily good for the bank to give you either a low interest loan, but two, a loan in and of itself. But the issue is that oftentimes individuals want to start off, especially in the context of the first Prime Minister's speech, was that these are newly graduated individuals who just finished university. I'm unsure where they're going to get that credit rating that is easy enough for them to get a loan or with a low interest. Therefore, the conclusion to this first part is that the barrier of entry of individuals, if the comparative is starting your own business, is in fact very high. But secondly, when it comes to the benefit to the self, and this is the second question, right? We see that individuals pursuing the passions that they talked about will actually, in fact, be more miserable on the comparative. Why? So the first is because when you're talking about starting off your own businesses, you are in a higher risk venture. The reason is because you are still going to compete with very large competitors or large companies with larger market shares than you as an SME. So for example, if you are starting off very small, starting your own potato chip brand, right? Your competitors are companies like Jacob, are things like Mr. Potato. These are companies with literally more than half of the market share and would easily kill you off as a company. Moreover, right, if this question about guys, we have to pay loans in the future, and this is a really sad life paying loans. If you have to take a loan to start off your own business, you still in fact have to pay loans on a comparative anyway, and thus loans is a non-issue. But lastly, and this is like really amusing to be honest, the whip says even if the business fails, at least you have self-satisfaction. No panel. If the business fails, you are bankrupt. Your children find it hard for them to get any form of scholarships in the future. You are not a credible guarantor. These are situations that are going to happen if your business fails. What is the comparative when it comes to the benefit of the self? Hannah brilliantly told you in second speaker that when you oftentimes pursue a higher paying job, it is more stable. And this was also iterated in Anis's speech. So oftentimes when you enter into the formal economy, pensions are oftentimes secure, KWSP, EPS. In addition, in the pursuit of a pension, you are still stable. Things like, for example, insurance and other benefits, optometry, dentistry, all that stuff, right? But here's three more additional things. First is, in the formal economy, unions are oftentimes stronger. And therefore, in the instance in which you can't necessarily have any good working conditions, unions are stronger. Second is you have a higher access to legal services when you're in the formal economy. And last is HR bodies oftentimes exist in order for them to sort of like take care of your interests at the end of the day. But even if you don't believe all of this, let's talk about dependency. We talked about in Anis's speech that oftentimes an average household has 4 dependents. And we say that even if you are slightly unhappy, failure to provide to your dependents is a bigger moral wrong than your own personal happiness. And the reasoning behind this is because even if you are unhappy with your job, there are other pockets of life that can give you happiness, such as, for example, even playing golf or even like looking at the beach. But if your children are hungry, there is no other alternative but for them to continue starving because you can't provide them the sustenance that they not only need, but in fact deserve from the fulfillment of your duty to them. And for all of those reasons, I'm proud to oppose.
All right, thank you for the strong opposing argument, Muhammad Helmi. So now is the time to call upon our second affirmation debater, Ammar bin Zuhair, to conclude the argument supporting the debate topic. So you may start now, Ammar.
Hi, I'm not Ammar, obviously, but he seems to have some problems reconnecting. Can you give him like 2 minutes? Is that possible?
Now is the time to call upon our second affirmation debater to conclude the argument supporting the debate topic.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I'm so sorry, my computer crashed. Right, I'll be starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. The important question that we need to answer in this debate is which form of employment or which form of earning is more sustainable and gives more personal satisfaction, passion or pay. Now, what I'm going to do in this speech is as follows. First of all, I'm going to give a brief summary on both sides of this argument. Then I'm going to explain why I believe affirmation should win this debate. First of all, affirmation started off by giving a very brief description about how workplace environment will be. The fact that there's high level of competition, the fact that you are as expendable as you would be. And it has been shown by my previous speakers that while you could get rid of job very easily, and even the fact that it's been shown that even during COVID, many people were laid off because of this problem. We then later went ahead and show how we could sustain ourselves by pursuing our passion, at the same time showing why it is very difficult in the first place to get a good pay.
Perhaps there is a technical difficulties from Ammar. So Ammar, are you there? Can you mute your microphone, please? All right, Ammar, you may continue. Oh, Ammar, we can't hear your voice. All right, unmute again.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, I just changed my microphone. So back to what I was saying. For one, it is very important to remember that it is not fiated within this motion that if you do apply for a good job, you're going to get it immediately. And we have shown significant evidence how difficult it is to get a position there in the first place. We have also shown throughout this debate that it is imperative that the cost that we get to pursue a particular career is less on our side than it is on opposition's. And while the point about loans is true, that both sides are going to be taking loans, which will be the more significant of the two, and we have shown why it will be significantly less on our side. Now, opposition's case has spoke very strongly about the fact that financial freedom is very important and gives access to a lot of things, including many luxuries such as pursuing what we care about. However, it is important to remember that while financial satisfaction is true, we still need to be able to advance in our career to fulfill further both financial and personal goals that we have set. And on that side, we have shown why we are more successful in doing so. I very firmly believe that, for one, we have proven with conclusive evidence that why it is very difficult to get a good job in the first place. We have shown in that regard that opposition's case will not stand. We have also shown how we are able to create a sustainable world through the fact that we are very mobile in the sense of what we choose to do. Therefore, even if economic climates change, we are still able to adapt, therefore creating a continuous sustainable source of income. This has been proven by a number of articles that we have mentioned during our speech. We have also showed clear responses to how exactly we would deal with issues such as loans, how exactly we will be able to create sustainability, which is a very important part of this debate, without having to sacrifice things like our personal wants, while still doing what we need to do for the sake of our family. And it's very important to remember that we have done so with very substantial facts. What opposition has not been able to do is prove to us that how exactly will people be able to get these jobs in the first place, even with all the government assistance, so on and so forth. Everything that we have stated still stands because it is happening in status quo, where there are many students who are still unable to get jobs, including one from UNiTEN who was on the news as brought up previously. Now, the important thing is that they have not proven how they can solve this problem. And because of that, it is still very true that this point still exists. And it's for that reason, I believe that Team Affirmation takes this debate because we have shown conclusive evidence on how our side operates, and we have shown conclusively that we are the better side of this debate. That's it. Very proud to propose. I rest my case.
All right, thank you, Amar, for concluding the supporting argument from your team. Finally, now I would like to call upon our second opposition debater, Anis Sophia, to conclude the argument opposing the debate topic. So you may start now, Anis.
All right. I think it's unfortunate that Affirmation has disregarded the characteristics of a passion-based job that we have already outlined for you and has only presented the best-case scenario in their world. To come to a conclusion and to break the deadlock that have existed in today's debate, they must concede that a passion-based job does not offer the security that we require in order to be sustainable and to have a sustainable career in the future. Assuming that this is especially a person who is just starting on their career and has the opportunity to choose, they have yet to justify to us how exactly would these individuals be able to stand out in an industry whereby you are working based on your passion, where there is no security, whereby there is a lot of challenges that you will have to face as someone who has just graduated, as they so like to characterize the stakeholder in today's debate. What are the clashes that have happened? Two things. The first is whether a well-paying job is difficult to access, because Affirmation believes that there is multiple barriers of entry to prevent an individual from entering a well-paying workforce in the first place. I think it's important to note that our second speaker has already pointed out, today's topic assumes that the two choices are already existent, that this person is presented with the choice either to work in an occupation that they love or one that pays them well, and not that the person has to overcome multiple barriers to get to the job in the first place. But even if we were to debate in Affirmation's world, as my second speaker has also mentioned, there are many expansions and segments to the industry, allowing for multiple facets that people can actually work under within a specific industry. A job that pays well is not necessarily the highest position in the corporation, but in comparison to a job that one is passionate about, it is at the very least the occupation that ensures them the most security and stability. And things like the things that they wanted to talk about, like the traits that you have to have, like whether it be CV or interview or any sort of soft skills, these are things that, like Hannah already mentioned earlier, is something that can be learned, and that there are plenty of areas of growth and development in a job that actually pays you well. There is no absolute, and regardless of what sort of market you want to enter, there are different areas and opportunities that are available for you. So there is always going to be a potential for you to escalate and to become a better person in your career as a whole. But secondly, which choice of occupation is more stable and sustainable? Because affirmation team says that the job that you are passionate about allows them to grow, ensure productivity, and be happy with the job. But at the same time, they say to us that a well-paying job is not stable because there is competition and that these individuals are replaceable. I think it's important to note that the problems that they point out are all not exclusive to only our side, because these are problems that could also exist under their world. Because even in a job that you are passionate about, whether you are self-employed or whether you are working in a workplace, you are still going to be subjected to a lot of challenges in terms of things that you cannot control, like the people that you have to work with or the environment that you are working in. And I think at the very end of the day, it is important to note that instability exists worst under their world, because as the first and second opposition speakers have already pointed out, we argued that it is far more stable to have a well-paying job because A, there is a solid structure, whereby it is not as easy as affirmation paints it to be to discard someone from the workforce. But B, there are benefits that you cannot always reap from passion-based jobs. Because under our side, we considered, we already pointed out to you that there are things like health security or even pension, things that you cannot get if you are working on a self-employed basis that would actually ensure that you have a sustainable future ahead of you, not just for yourself, but for the people who are dependent on you. Then what exactly did our side contribute into this debate? We told you about how exactly does your career choice affect different facets of your life. Three things, right? The first is individual fulfillment, because fulfillment doesn't just come from your happiness while you are doing that job. Fulfillment also comes as to what exactly are the challenges that you face outside of that job. You can work in a job that you love, but if you are not able to pay the bills, if you are not able to sustain your family or keep your family well fed with putting food on the table, in a real life scenario, you would still not be fulfilled because it's not enough to merely just do a job that you love. But secondly, we also talked to you about responsibility towards dependents, right? But in reality, this responsibility is something that is much more important than an individual happiness per se, because the decisions that you make directly affect people who are dependent on you. And the people who, like we mentioned earlier, are very much vulnerable, are very much dependent on how exactly can you actually secure the best job that can actually ensure that they are well treated and that they do have opportunity to access education or healthcare in the future. But finally, when we talk about long-term sustainability, right, I think our side has proven to you how exactly will ours be the most sustainable, if not in terms of how fast you can escalate the career ladder. At the very least, it's sustainable in terms of the fact that you don't have to worry as much about the choices of career that you're actually about the choices or the problems that you might face in your career at the end of the day. In the end, the reality is that the job that you love would very unlikely give you the security that you need, but you can also not guarantee a future for the ones who depend on you. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Norhana, for the opposing argument from your team. All right, now we will have a short break for you to freshen up and regain your energy a bit. And in the meantime, do enjoy these videos from our organizer.
Introducing uLearnMoney, the most comprehensive and credible online financial education platform in Malaysia that will guide you to gain personal financial success. The mission of uLearnMoney is to create a financial freedom gateway for everyone, and the vision is to be the most preferred platform of choice to acquire financial knowledge and skills among the people within the nation. It is well known for its credibility as it is endorsed and supported by the Ministry of Education and Department of Higher Education or Jabatan Pendidikan Tinggi. It has an adaptable learning environment coupled with engaging learning presentations where the courses can be learned anytime, anywhere, across any digital devices. With uLearnMoney's 5C key strengths: credibility, conducive, comprehensive, convenient, and cost-effective, you will be able to learn how to manage, maximize, and multiply your finance in no time. So, what are you waiting for? Sign up and enroll now at uLearnMoney.com to be a part of the uLearnMoney community today. Let's elevate our financial literacy together with uLearnMoney.
All right, welcome back, everyone. I believe you're ready and energized to continue on with our agenda today. So moving on to the next agenda, now I would like to invite our panel judges of MyMalaysia Virtual Debate Competition to give some comments about the debate session just now. Firstly, I would like to invite Madam Amisio to give her thoughtful comments. Please welcome.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Uh, First of all, I want to say well done to both of the team, whether it's affirmation or opposition. So I believe they are well prepared with their contents and that they are trying to organize it and approach in the rational argument. However, I feel that both sides are quite balanced in approach and they are talking about patient and also the pay. So somehow they are actually trying to connect to one another and talks about the challenges. And I'm happy that they try to reflect because this is actually the problems that we want to touch on for the young people. So if university students or young people, when they are finished their university, they will have to make a decision to pursue whether towards more towards their passion or towards the high paid job, or even in selecting the subjects that they are like to pursue in their academic, that will also helping to determine their future. But however, we understand from their points, we need to actually able to see a stronger illustration of the picture, which I'm expecting to see from both teams, but I didn't. So if one of the team able to illustrate it with a more clearer example, that will be able to convince more to the judges. But however, I think even in the delivery part, both sides are equally good, and the way they approach and the debate preparation, and I can say well done. And just would like to comment a bit on the technical part. So the affirmations have to be more ready in future. Even contents, presentations are pretty good, but the technical wise is actually giving a minus marks on that part. So in future presentation, especially on this virtual and online platform, you have to be earlier, get yourself more prepared, punctual for the rehearsal, so that to avoid all this technical error. And for passion towards high pay, okay, if you can list out some examples to illustrate it, and then you can, I believe that you can actually touch on the point more clearly. Because sometimes what I heard from both sides is on the argument and repeating the sentence that each other repeating. So this is my impression, and I'm trying to find the points, and some points are there, but it's not sharp enough. Okay, but somehow still well done. I think it's well prepared, and I can see some of you are actually technically, I should say that it's a well written script, and you have well prepared, and all the best. And it's a very good approach, and I believe that this topic can make both teams to really ponder and to have more solid thought, in our young people journey to pursue their success in life. So I would like to pass back to Nadra and the rest of the panel judges to comment. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Madam Amisio. Now I would like to invite our second judge, Ms. Constance Westwood, to give her comments. Please welcome. All right, Ms.
Unmute. Constance, I need you to unmute.
I'm trying to unmute. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good afternoon. And as part of the audience, I must say I was very, very thrilled to see the high standard of English that was communicated through their pointers. Indeed, you stand to show the country that the English standard is not to be compromised. When it came to the contents, I feel that many of y'all were all over the place. to a certain extent, you were not taking a simple, straightforward route to explain your side of the story, except Hilmi. I found that when Hilmi took on the camera, I could better understand where he was coming from. But nevertheless, each one of y'all did a very good presentation, and y'all should be proud of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Constance. So next, I would like to invite our third judge, Ms. Jesslyn, to give some comments. Please welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. I had to concur with all my learned friends, the panel judges. I had the similar feelings, towards the debates. But of course, I need to say great job to all the participants. I believe behind the 5 minutes debates and the presentation, there are lots of effort and a lot of research has been done. And I think I don't know whether it is the first time you're actually doing this virtual debates competition. I don't know whether you have done it before. What do you feel? It's actually not easy because you need to have some eye contact, and then there's no audience is going to knock, and then have some affirmation on your point, and you're basically looking at your own self. I think the feeling is quite different, but this is a very good practice. I believe in the future, when you have this kind of virtual competition, you will get a very excellent skill. And I need to comment on some of the reference and research that you have actually put in your debates. I can see that you made some reference on Bloomberg, some Cambridge report, some recruitment analysis and data, and then you also put forward your certain knowledge on KWSP, EPA, mortgage, and also the loans. And I have to agree that with Helmi, as well as Hannah, I think personally, you have put forward your point very precise, very clear in delivering, and to put forward your points. And I hope and I believe all of us and also all of you in the future, we can have a dream job with reasonable pay, and also to get a high pay job and you fell in love with it, isn't it? You want it both. But how do you to achieve to have both of them? That is to get financial freedom. If you have the knowledge of financial literacy, that's why financial literacy is very essential. It's important. If we have financial freedom, then you can have any job that you like, any job that you love. That's all about it. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Jesling. So last but not least, our fourth judge, I would like to invite Mr. Lucas to give his comment.
Hi, thank you, Nadra, my fellow judges and organizing committees. Our both team today have done a very great performance this afternoon, and it was a great eye-opening experience for me. Really, both teams have demonstrated a very good presentation, a very good debate in such a short time. And I know you all have put in a lot of effort into these competitions. So remember, there is no right or wrong, but it is a good experience and memory for everyone here. So once again, congratulations to Universiti Tenaga Nasional and International Islamic University of Malaysia. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Lucas, for your remarks.
Yes, I would like to do a little bit sum up. Thanks to our fellow judges who have been giving very good comments and compliments to both teams. I believe this will definitely motivate and encourage both UNiTEN and IIUM. So as we have mentioned, why we are choosing this topic and put it through to the young people to debate on it, because we want our young people to actually think and have a good understanding of what they want to pursue in life. Actually, there's no wrong with passion and high pay, and you can actually pursue both if, let's say, you have a good plan on your life journey. But first thing, very important, like Jess has mentioned, financial literacy. So in the route to pursue your future, your destination, is money everything? So pay, when you look at this title, pay, it symbolizes money. Passion is something that you love or value in life. But sometimes high pay also, can achieve the same as well. So if you do it in a smart, intelligent, and innovative manner, both actually can marry together, the passion and the high pay too. So sometimes I'm thinking of, if in future, some simple illustration like between a musician and a doctor. So someone who is very smart, they can actually, study doctorate. But this person also somebody who is very talented and can perform and entertain people, but also can get high pay too. So if a person with these two talent and also passion, so what is the choice of this person? So that will easily, in a very simplified way, to illustrate the pay, passion, and the high pay. So we want to say thank you, and both of you have did a good job, and very good and very impressive with your presentation, the contents, and the effort put into it. So tomorrow we have another session. So I believe you stand a chance. These two team stand a chance to be, I believe, one of the finalists lah, of our the winner, or it could be the debater. Just to congratulate you for your very good job today. Good preparation. So I hope that you will be able to get some good result. I mean, what I mean is have some, you are harvesting some good experience from this platform. Okay, I pass the time back to Nadra.
All right, thank you very much, Madam Amicio. So now it's time for the virtual photo session. So I would like to ask everyone to turn on your video so we can get all your bright smiles in our virtual photo. We'll be taking 3 photos in total. So I hope everyone's ready with your camera on. Right, everyone is ready. All right. At the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, smile. All right. Another one. 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, last one. 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you very much for your cooperation, everyone. So now we are almost at the end of our event, but before that, I would like to welcome all our guests, visitors, and friends to visit the MyMalaysia Career E-Fair platform at smefair.com.my/MyMalaysia Career Fair to start exploring at all that our virtual event has to offer from today until 31st of March. For all information and details on the event program, exhibitors and special features of the MyMalaysia Career E-Fair, do head over to our official website, smefair.com.my/MyMalaysia Career Fair. I would also like to invite all of our guests today to like and follow the uLearnMoney Facebook page at www.facebook.com/uLearnMoney. The link will be in the comment section. So on the uLearnMoney Facebook page is where you can view all our promotional contents, and that is also where you can get all of our news and updates regarding all the current and upcoming activities and programs under 2021 MyMalaysia Career E-Fair event. Please also visit the websites and Facebook pages of our all joint organizers, supporters and partners from the 2021 MyMalaysia Career Fair. Do refer to the chat section on Zoom and also our Facebook Live, where we'll provide all the relevant links for your convenience. And with that, our debate competition of session for today has come to an end. We hope to see you again for our third debate session tomorrow on the 30th of March at 10 a.m. with the topic The FOMO and YOLO mindsets are harmful for the young investors. On behalf of the organizers, I would like to express our humble gratitude in appreciation to our honorable guests, debaters, panel judges, and everyone present today. On behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to apologize for any shortcomings or technical difficulties throughout the event. Finally, thank you very much for joining us, and I hope you're enjoying the 6-day experience of our MyMalaysia Career Fair 2021 at smefair.com.my/MyMalaysia Career Fair. Thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure to be with you today. So stay safe, stay healthy, and have a good day ahead. Thank you, everyone. I end with wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.